Hello, it's March 2022. I just wanted to do a real quick video on kind of a sensitive topic, and I really don't want to sound cold about it, but it's something that I think needs to be addressed. And yeah, it should be addressed. And there was somebody in Congress in the United States talking about something about babies suffering and dying or something like that. Horrible. It's terrible. And, you know, what more can you say to that? Now, that's not really the focus. The focus is going to be more with what was said with regards to that, with this person who was speaking to Congress or something, that this should not be happening. Now, I'm just going to segue for a moment, because on one hand, we have the murdering of the unborn through abortion, and that seems to be fine, but that's a different topic. But the babies dying and suffering and everything else, it shouldn't be happening. Well, when you look throughout history, and not that far long ago, babies dying were common. That's why families had 5, 6 kids, because it happens. And it's just a part of life, even in nature, in the animal world. But as I've said many times before, we live in let's reiterate the whole thing. We are in the late stage of the last stage of civilization, the age of decadence. And we repeat history because history's forgotten, right? So in this age of decadence, where sure there's been medical advancements, and actually I want to segue into another topic with regards to this. And so yes, more lives are saved, whereas at one point in even recent history they wouldn't have been saved. But to say that it shouldn't happen, that's a decadent comment. To think that. Now, again, you know, I'm not trying to belittle the event, but it also shows how weak people have become, because when you go back again into even recent history, where you had whatever crib deaths, or the baby wouldn't survive, or the mother wouldn't survive, or both, or whatever, through the delivery process, people just accepted that. You know, they grieved, but, you know, it's like, oh, you know, little Sally or little Billy died. You know, it's just kind of like, that's what happened. And we see today how this can't be tolerated, because for whatever reason. So I just wanted to highlight that real quick. Now I'm going to segue into the whole medical profession and the advancements there. Now, I just want to interject here real quick. There's 2 types of sciences. There's practical sciences, and then there's theoretical sciences, or to expand on that, the liberal arts, theoretical pseudosciences, which have become dominant. And people accept theories as proven fact, and a lot of people won't accept, say, something that is not scientifically peer-reviewed. You know, being peer-reviewed means it's going through the gatekeepers on what the narrative of whatever topic that they want to push forward. And if something doesn't fit that peer review, and it could be 100% factual, 100% truthful, but if it doesn't fit, it doesn't make it. And then people who are so brainwashed with pseudosciences say, well, see, it was disproven. No. Truths and facts are so skewed and controlled and everything else, and we see this even with the courts, and I've talked about this a lot. Now, the advancement with practical sciences, you know, for example, keeping babies alive, and I have nothing against that, okay? But when you actually think about how good intentions can pave the road to hell. People think that I'm going to use an example, and I got to really wordcraft this because I don't want anyone to misunderstand what I'm saying. But you think about how many people are completely paralyzed, where they can't even communicate. They have no external senses to the world around them, but they keep them alive. The brain's alive, and on the rare moment that occasion where somebody will pull through, but yet their brain functions and their physical functions is poor, to say the least. And people say, well, this is being humanitarian efforts. Now, I want you to really think about the hell that is for that individual who's experiencing that. Maybe it was their time to go, but they, as a descriptive, cheated it. And they're stuck inside their mind, with the extreme example, of course. No external, nothing external being able to come through. Imagine being stuck in your head 24/7, not even knowing what time of day it is, not knowing what to talk to, just stuck in your own thoughts. And there's a whole moral dilemma. They're saying, well, we're keeping them alive. That's our objective. Well, maybe that objective needs to be reevaluated. And yes, there's a lot of people who come through and live out their lives, and that's fantastic. Their lives are 100% dependent on maybe technology or others or everything else. But say, for example, worst case scenario in civilization, even like a tsunami or catastrophes and stuff, these people are very vulnerable. And it saddens me to know that there's people out there who are that vulnerable, who solely, and there's a lot of people who accept that their state, fantastic, and they live the most productive lives that they can live, fantastic. And you hear, especially in the psychology industry, where in time people will come to accept that, they convince themselves this is a good thing. So I just really want to highlight the statement that none of this should be happening. Like, should be no one should be dying, no one should be suffering, and everyone, so especially with what I now call the former current worldwide events, people being so scared of dying and whatever. Like, that is the ultimate worst thing that could happen. Now, I'm not going to go off onto the tangent that there is something beyond here. I know for a fact there is something beyond here, and I've shared my own personal experiences in other videos about this, but just wanted to highlight the decadence of that statement, and then how through good intentions, the practical sciences of medicine have prolonged life where people should be questioning. And there's a lot of times people specifically say, if I get into that situation, pull the plug. And I had to make that call for my father back in 2013, and I couldn't be with him because of the nonsense that I was going through. And then I had the so-called criminal trial judge insult my father when he convicted me, saying, well, there's no evidence of my father's passing, which I did give evidence, but that's how human garbage these people had to deal with were. So anyway, so I'm sharing that because I had to make that call too. I knew what his wishes were. It was a hard call, and I still live with that. And I go more in detail about that in one or two other videos, so just thought I'd share that for what it's worth. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share.
Listen to this and write it down if you can't remember it. You're never going to outgrow warfare. You simply must learn to fight. I hear people saying to me, oh, when is it going to get easier? When you die.